want to change systems from the inside. I know that that's something that resonates in the black community a lot when, for my generation and they were training you to go to college, get your degree, get your job, this is how you build your career. So much of it was that, hey, we understand a lot of the systems we're going into may be inherently racist or prejudiced, but maybe our presence can make a difference. Maybe we can open that door for someone else. And so I see both sides of this issue for sure.
Right. I mean, well, the interesting side of it as well, you know what I'm saying? Just being objective, and that's why people kind of like, what I have to say is that what happens, though, when, let's say, some extremist group takes over some building and is holding people that you love and care about hostage, and now the police don't have tear gas to flush them out, or the police don't have non-lethals, to be able to whatever, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you got to always look at things from both sides. Yeah. So it's like, yeah. And I'm somebody who got tear gas. You guys saw it. I'm somebody who got tear gassed a lot of times. I ate a lot of pepper spray. I got hit with quite a few rubber bullets trying to cover this story. A lot of our staff, I always talk about Ben, the last night there protecting us, got shot with 5 rubber bullets and everything else. So I'm somebody who's ate the gas. I'm somebody who's, you know what I'm saying, ate the pepper spray, took the rubber bullets, but just thinking objectively on the flip side of the issue, you know what I'm saying? It's like, what if it was your loved one that like I said, was maybe being held hostage somewhere, and the police were trying to manage the situation in a non-lethal way, and now they don't have the tools to do that?
Yeah, it's a solid question. And I think that, a lot of this reform really needs to think about the end game and then work itself backwards. If the end game is to have a police department that understands its neighborhood, the community it's serving, understands the constituents it's serving in its beat or block, then again, those relationships are built. But also on the other side, you definitely have to have some more community response teams that can go into situations that are non-emergency situations and actually have de-escalation practices and techniques around, restorative justice, around mediation, things of that, dispute resolution. So I do think that there is a balanced approach that needs to happen here. You can't just say, we don't need the police to be doing this. We don't need them to have non-lethal force. We actually need to have some community responses that can take up that void.
I just think that no matter what, man, you know what I'm saying, whether either side, if we go too polarizing on either side, people need to understand that there's the laws of the universe, man. There's an equal opposite reaction, man. And when the pendulum goes too far one way, then it goes too far another way. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And so it isn't until, because I mean, there's a lot of black people. Let's just be real. There's a lot of black people, you know what I'm saying, who done went through redlining, gentrification, weed and seed, and everything else, who aren't happy about, you know what I'm saying, the police service. You know what and they want their police service. So I mean, there's not a homogeneous view of black people and this and that and everything else. A lot of people, that precinct serves, this precinct or the units in the precinct, however it used to go, serves a lot of people there. And so we'll see how it plays out. But my job, my role here is to kind of ask those questions objectively, you know what I'm saying, like on both sides. So, it's a very valid question to say, like, okay, now chokehold's crap. I think that everybody, let's get out of here, 100%. But I think that people might want to think about that if there's a situation that goes down and it's your people that's in there, would you want the police to have those kind of tools, tear gas and non-lethals, to be able to manage the situation, or does it come down to a lethal type of situation? You see what I'm saying? So something else, man, these guys, I don't know, we spend a lot of time talking about us. I guess we're conceited and self-centered here in Seattle, but about 176 miles down there to the south, Portland is funky. Yeah. It's been funky. It stayed funky. We got a report right here from one of the channels in Portland, KOIN, and it shows how last night the protesters, for the 20th night, they took over the Pearl District. And actually, Portland police had a bit different of an approach than the guys in Seattle. They put up their autonomous zone there last night. It's not necessarily in this report. They put up the Keller Williams autonomous zone right out in front of the mayor's condo down there in Portland. But the police came in and smacked them quickly. It's a bit differently, though, because these guys left their precinct. But down in Portland, they tried to launch the autonomous zone. It didn't really last long, but, man, they're definitely on it. If you can go ahead and play that clip for us, Daryl.
Tonight have marched into the Pearl District. Jennifer Dowling with that group right now. Let's switch back to her. What's the latest, Jennifer?
Jeff, we're at Northwest 10th and Gleason, and it appears that a man just climbed up onto the awning, the cement awning there, and was kind of looking into windows, but he kind of went down the other side behind some trees. I'm not sure if he hopped down, but we did have a man that had climbed up there just a couple minutes ago. We have people who are filling the streets here, kind of camped out for a time, chanting Ted Wheeler's name. Protesters believe that he lives in this building, and they are shining lasers on the side of it, as well as spotlights and what looks like strobe lights. We have seen quite a few people peeking out their windows, wondering initially what was going on. This group marched all the way from the Justice Center on the southwest side over here to the northwest side in the Pearl. Part of the reason the group was a little bit larger tonight at the Justice Center was because there was a peaceful protest on the east side, and they marched over the Hawthorne Bridge to the bowl on the waterfront and had speeches and wrapped up peacefully. And then quite a few people went over to the Justice Center to join people who were already there. So they marched out at around 10 o'clock. They marched up to 10th, Southwest 10th, and marched all the way to Northwest 10th here in Gleason, where they're targeting this building, chanting Ted Wheeler's name, chanting Black Lives Matter and other slogans. We just heard one of the leaders of the protest with a megaphone tell people to stay within the confines of the cars so they don't get injured. They also parted out of the way to let a streetcar through, so they did let the car through. It sounds like they just want to get their message out to Ted Wheeler.
The Rose City, man, I'm telling you, it's getting funky down there. It's been that way for a while, you know, and protests are really going on across the country, and you kind of see that on Twitch. I wasn't even hip to Twitch until we came over here, and somebody's like, man, you know, your live stream's on Twitch. It's like 100,000 people watching. And I was like, what? What's Twitch?
What is Twitch?
But Twitch, they put up on the page Woke. It's like twitch.com/woke. So Woke has all these feeds from across the country. And believe it or not, man, in cities all across America, you know, Wilmington, North Carolina, Nashville, Tennessee, every night people are in the streets. You don't really see that because, you know, I mean, one, the national news might not have the bandwidth, you know, in a 30-minute show to show that. But they're out there. But Portland, man, you know, Portland's always been Portland. Yeah. And so, you know, last night was their 20th night of protest.
Man, shout out to all of those who are just saying enough is enough. I mean, you know, I can't say it enough. I'm not going to ever be like, well, you know, no, this country has a lot of things to ask or answer for and answer to. And I think that the people are finally like, enough, man. It's time to get some answers. It's time to see some change. So I'm loving that. I'm loving that Woke is compiling these streams so that folks can actually
not anymore, Sam.
Across the nation. My cousin lives in North Carolina and does not know about that. So I'm going to have to tell her about Woke. Man, shout out to you guys over there compiling those clips.
You know, what's crazy is our stream actually, because, you know, they have a lot of streams up there, but there's only one that has sound. But our stream, every time we go up there, because, you know, I got commentary. And so it's crazy because once they put our stream up, it usually goes into a prime position and you can hear the audio on it and everything else. So sometimes, you know, on Facebook, it'll say, like, we got
the guy on the microphone now also gave us a shout out last night. So thank you, Amari, for that.
That are just following our walk through the park over here through CHOP, you know what I'm saying, which is interesting in itself. One last thing before we take a break. You eat pancakes?
Pancakes, flapjacks.
Flapjacks, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, man. I mean, the winds of change, at least for right now, is coming to America as another company, this time PepsiCo, one of the biggest companies in the world, you know, as far as like food, beverage, everything like that. They decided to change the name of Aunt Jemima syrup.
Wow. Long time that name been in the American public.
Yeah, it has, over a century. Daryl, can you roll that clip?
We have another big headline this morning. PepsiCo changing the name of its well-known Aunt Jemima brand. What can you tell us about that? So PepsiCo, the parent company of Quaker, which owns the brand Aunt Jemima, and the brand has been around for 130 years, has decided that this is based on a
Yes,
racial
Sam, the stream
stereotype.
sniper went over to Amari and told him we were restreaming and we got a shout out off
will
Amari.
change in the coming months. They say that they'll have new branding and new packaging before the end of this year.
So we just talk about, man, you know, people, even Miss Butterworth, like speaking in community-wise,
right.
even Miss Butterworth used to always get some love because it's like, ooh, man, just Miss Butterworth. Nobody ever wanted to be Aunt Jemima.
No.
That used to be how you was ranking in the hood. That's why your mama looked like Aunt Jemima. Oh, we got to fight now. How you going to say my mama looked like Aunt Jemima? So she's never been like a positive symbol within the black community.
Absolutely not. And the thing is that honestly, it felt like to me always that I thought, oh, well, you know, maybe they think that's the best pancake mix and the best syrup ever because I'm trying to get it like, you know, like Aunt Jemima made it. I mean, like that's what I would always think.
What they were saying,
go back to those times.
What they were saying is that, you know, Aunt Jemima was based upon a person who was X, Y, and Z. But, man, Aunt Jemima was born into slavery.
Right.
Man.
Exactly. Period.
So this is the time, though. So here's the thing is, apparently the trend that I'm seeing is like this is the time now. If you want to hop on this on the bandwagon for change, like you see NASCAR's come, they've banned this and that. University of Virginia, they're redoing their logo. PepsiCo's getting rid of Aunt Jemima. Trey said Uncle Ben is next. he said Uncle Ben is next. But really, to be honest with you, because you know corporations, especially if you're publicly held, you know what I'm saying, stepping out there without a situation like this into the winds of change. Imagine, you know, the blowback that PepsiCo would have got even a month ago.
Yeah.
When they're like, you know, or 2 months ago, before George Floyd, if PepsiCo was like, yeah, we're changing the name to Aunt Jemima because we feel that, you know, it might be offensive or whatever. You know what I'm saying? They might have took a hit on their stock. They might have took a this and that. But because of the current environment, it's like, man, that was a courageous move by PepsiCo or whatever. So anybody out there, man, if you got some other offensive stuff popping off, I'm letting you know this window might not last forever.
Hey.
If you've got some very insensitive kind of logo or anything like that, this might be the time.
I'm just going to say this. I think really what the term is awakening. Like everybody needs to get woke. Everybody needs to wake up and understand that there's a lot of that embed in our pop culture, in American culture. So it is going to be up to folks to be innovative. I've always said this in terms of pushing the barriers forward and changing that narrative. It's really going to be up to companies like Pepsi to do that because honestly, a lot of that stuff is rooted in some prejudices and some race. So we definitely need to take that out.
Well, you know, I mean, the thing is, too, is like, man, some stuff just don't have to be what it is.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, Seattle University changed their name, you know, well, maybe it was a decade ago or less. I think they used to be the Red Men.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? See, SU, we're just right down the street, and then, you know, they changed their name to the Red Hawks. You know, but this is, like I said, we're seeing something in America right now that we've never really seen before. And when people have had the conversations and dealt with things around race, although it's been polarizing, and there was no space or a thing about people saying it has to get better.
Yeah. But
I think that we find that right now in America, whether people are falling on, they said, the right side of issues or the left side of issues, people are feeling like something has to change.
Right.
And that's why you're seeing, you know, these things. Also, another thing, we don't have the package in here today, but Roger Goodell said that Kaepernick, somebody should hire Kaepernick.
I can see Amari getting his own TV show. He's a very good presenter.
Kaepernick should get another try. So, you know what I'm saying? Trump said a lot of other stuff,
yeah,
too,
he definitely did.
But
definitely
we're just talking about Kaepernick right now.
Definitely did.
But,
Well,
I mean,
I just was going to say that I think you are right. When we talk about the sentiment of this nation and we talk about this people power, how we're seeing folks rise up just like they've done here in the CHOP, I think that is really the sentiment that is sweeping the nation. You know what I mean? Even right here locally, you know, to be fighting for Fire Station 6 for almost 5 years and finally being like, you know what, we understand, it's right, we need to do this for community. At the end of the day, this awakening is sweeping the nation. I'm loving this, to be honest.
I mean, but
it's
you
about
know,
time.
Fundamentally, what I've been saying for a long time is that whether you fall on the right or the left, or really it's about 30 or 50 different ways to split this, man. This country is built upon the citizens being engaged.
Yes.
It really, this country is built upon we the people. And for a long time, you know, people have outsourced their responsibility. People have outsourced their responsibilities. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of what we see. And right now, I think citizens across America are like, you know what? I'm reclaiming my responsibility as a citizen here. People put because, you know, with simple civics, there's rights and responsibilities that you have as an American citizen. Every single citizen here is a stakeholder.
Yep.
But they don't realize it. And even more than a stakeholder, there's a shareholder. There's 350 million shareholders in this big company or organization that we call the United States of America. And a lot of times people just put their shares in America with some hedge fund and just let the hedge fund manage their share.
Right.
I mean, if you put it in a business sense, and now people are taking that share back and being like, nah, man, I'm good. Let me manage this myself. Because, you know what I'm saying, any change, as people see it, comes from the citizen level. And guys really ought to be ashamed of themselves that for years they put that share, their responsibility on autopilot.
Yes.
Oh, who do we, you know, it's the day that they get to the election day. Oh, who do we vote for this time? You know, honey,
Right.
what box do we check? And it just go on.
Right.
It's been outsourced. So I think a lot of what you're seeing right now across America is people reclaiming, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I love
reclaiming that right and their responsibility and their duty. You're obligated as an American citizen. You're obligated to be involved in the process. It don't matter if you're Republican or Democrat or independent. You're obligated. You're a shareholder. You're a stakeholder in this thing we call America, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's why these things are important. Get out there, vote, do your census. You know what I'm saying? Make noise. Look how much noise the politicians, they've never heard this much noise.
Never.
They've never heard this much noise from people on either side of this issue. So politicians, you know what I'm saying, from the local level, the city, the county, the state, and federally, man, people, big business has never heard this much from people. So guys are acting. But that's because citizens are becoming engaged again and doing their job. You see, it's not the government's country, it's the people's country. You see what I'm saying?
What you're saying.
It's what it is.
I
man.
absolutely agree. You know, I always talk about the importance of people power, the importance of people recognizing that power. And I love how you just said that it's them taking their share back. I think that there was a lot of things in this country in terms of systemically that were built on the apathy of the people, that were built on this autopilot nature of the people. And I do think,
right city
and
hall, right city.
Yeah, it's like it does make a difference. And I think that when you utilize your voice in the ways that we're seeing people utilize their voices across this country, across the world, I mean, we've been inspired by other movements as folks in Hong Kong have been lifting their voices up. We are getting inspired. I think we're seeing it happen. I think it's beautiful to actually witness it right here in our city.
Right. So what we're going to do right now, I didn't realize, man, time's getting away from us. We got a late start here today. You know what I'm saying? Live TV isn't always perfect, but we appreciate you guys supporting us. So Nightline, ABC Nightline, they put a camera crew, they embedded a camera crew with us a few days ago. They actually flew back yesterday, and they did some follow-up. They did an interview with Fire Chief Scoggins and Mayor Durkin. But the segment aired last night on Nightline. So we're going to jump ahead in the order there, Daryl. We're going to go to the Nightline. So what we're going to do is we jacked it. We didn't get total permission yet, but it's okay. Sometimes it's better to ask for permission than, you know. But we're going to play this, and we want you guys to tell us how good or how bad ABC News and Nightline, you know what I'm saying, captured their time in the CHOP, embedded with us at Converge Media. We're going to go up here.
4 blocks up, barely that far across. And in this stretch of Seattle, citizen journalist Omari Salisbury enters occupied territory.
Every day at like 3 o'clock, you get like there's a lot of different community meetings. It's a lot of discussion about what this thing is going to be.
This afternoon, many feeling validated by the breaking news.
The first charge is felony murder.
The former Atlanta officer who shot and killed Rayshard Brooks last Friday was charged with 11 counts, including murder and aggravated assault.
They should be charged because there's always a better way.
That makes me feel good. And that's all we want is justice.
Blue streets.
This is CHOP.
What do we want? When do we want it?
Capitol Hill occupied protest. A self-described autonomous zone, a piece of city taken, sealed off from outsiders by barricades and patrolled by armed residents. The guy with the Glock is running. It's a place where no cops are allowed, an area those inside say is for the people, by the people.
In the last few weeks, we've made quite a movement, haven't we?
It's just blocks from downtown and some of the homes of corporate titans like Amazon and Starbucks.
It's just about 6 square blocks, but it also encompasses Cal Anderson Park, which is a big park over here, and of course the East Precinct, which is the point of contention.
Tonight, we take you inside the zone that's been described at times as an occupation. Hey, critics calling it a street fair.
Thank you, ma'am.
Others a protest rally.
If you're not willing to go that far, then what are you doing down here?
One that after nearly 10 days still has a police precinct building under its control.
The East Precinct will not be returned.
The faces of those who lost their lives at the hands of police now adorn the police precinct's boarded up windows. And organizers here vow to hold the precinct at least until their demands are met.
It's defunding and abolishment of the police state and having police officers turn in their badges.
It was nearly 3 weeks ago when Seattle joined cities across the country protesting the death of George Floyd at the hands of police.
Let's bring this down.
Protesters taking their anger to the East Precinct in the Capitol Hill neighborhood, where the standoffs were some of the most explosive in the country. Officers using tear gas, flashbang grenades, and pepper spray.
They're putting the pepper spray in the air. There it is.
This viral moment live streamed by Salisbury.
I got pepper spray all over me.
Demonstrators facing a wall of officers across a barricade.
All hell broke loose. Tear gas and pepper spray, and I think they broke out the rubber bullets. And it shocked this neighborhood.
Days later, another intense police crackdown. And tensions heightened as
So
a man
I'm just
drove
staying
his
quiet,
car
guy, while Amari's doing his morning
before
show.
shooting and injuring one of them. Then, in a bid to de-escalate tensions, officers retreated from the area, vacating the East Precinct. That void quickly filled by protesters who would declare the area theirs.
This building is the people's. We paid for it with our taxes.
Leaving the precinct was not my decision. You fought for days to protect it. I asked you to stand on that line, day in and day out.
The situation in Seattle now a national flashpoint. The president himself warning multiple times he would take action, like in this Fox News interview.
It's pathetic. No, we're not going to let this happen in Seattle. If we have to go in, we're going to go in.
Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkin firing back.
One of the things this president will never understand is that listening to community is not a weakness.
On the ground, Amari has found himself moving from journalist to arbiter, bridging the divide between protesters and officials.
They know, because people know, it's like we're not on the side of protesters, we're not on the side of police, we're just media people who actually build a lot of relationships.
Share the stream.
After his videos of the protest caught the attention of city leaders, he began hosting community meetings like this one with Harold Scoggins, the chief of the Seattle Fire Department, who seemed to meet some of the protesters' demands.
Requiring body-worn cameras recording at protest. That's a change that has been made. In no way do I imagine that this comes close to meeting all of the concerns and needs. But in the conversation, one of the things we're trying to do is understand how we serve the business owners, how do we serve the residents.
And amid the stalemate between police and city government over the fate of the vacated precinct, Scoggins served as an intermediary to build trust.
I was African American before I ever put my first uniform on. So all of our personal experiences inform our decision making. We're also focusing on serving the protesters and trying to ensure that they have a safe space to express their First Amendment rights. People want and need to have
How's
a voice.
everybody over in the YouTube
Durkin
chat doing?
refusing for now
We're
to take
just
back the
remaining
streets and
silent while we
downplaying
watch
the
Amari.
symbolism of the precinct's takeover.
The precinct itself is just the building. Our focus is on how do we make sure that policing adapts to the situation. The chief made very clear that policing will never be the same in Seattle or across America.
It's not a protest. I call it Burning Man, a festival. It has nothing to do with Black lives or what happened to George Floyd.
Victoria Beach chairs the police department's African American Community Advisory Council. She says the mayor's stance is giving license to a lawless party.
And the mayor did it. I said, the longer they have these streets, the harder it is to get it back. And she needs to be in the front line taking it back.
Other protesters here are frustrated by the lack of progress and clarity in the movement, like bookkeeper Sean Gaston.
We don't march no more, and we're not saying nothing beneficial. There's a whole bunch of people out here.
What is the message here right now?
There is no message.
Even the name has been a point of contention. First, it was the CHAZ, Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, but after some people raised issues with that moniker, it was changed to the CHOP.
I don't know how Capitol Hill became the center focus of this. Capitol Hill is not the black community. The black community is 6 blocks up the street and to the left, all right? That's the black community. That's where we need to be at. We're standing outside here in front of a police station. What type of message is that sending? It looks like buffoonery.
What do we want? Justice. When do we want it?
The key
I've also got to catch the end of the show because the Amari show plays music and I need to try and catch that and stop that music going through to YouTube.
We want to make sure that black artists are represented and heard with this piece.
Those 3 words, a reminder of why many say.
So I've just had a little conversation with Dan. I'm hoping we can restream him later. He's also going to get a message through to Amari for us.
Accountability. I want that system gone. That's what I want.
For Nightline, I'm Matt Gutman in Seattle.
And hopefully we'll get a bit more of a shout out so more people know about the Twitch and the YouTube
feed. If you'd like to
feed.
get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.
Mama, good afternoon.
That was good. That was good.
Are we
Thank
live
y'all.
now, Daryl? Oh, okay. Well, thanks for the heads up, Daryl. So, I mean, it's seven minutes right there. That was.
Does anybody else agree that Amari is a very, very good presenter?
They embedded with us. Some of the interviews in there were interviews that were taken early on. I think when he talked to Gaston, we actually had an interview with Gas. He's from the north end. Said he lives out there on Aurora.
Amari is the guy on the mic.
He was just telling us about what's going on out there. We're actually reporting back on that. But so some of the footage was from their previous reporting. Some of the footage from like me and Takaya. From who did the,
yep.
the 2
Well, I personally think Amari has been very good. He gives a very, very balanced view of what's going on.
How do you guys, especially guys that have been out here at the CHOP and everything else, how do you guys feel about that?
Amari is always on my streams.
What was right or what was wrong? You know what I'm saying, or is it on point?